President Xi Jinping arrives in Vietnam at the start of a three-nation Asian tour. Donald Trump says he will announce tariff rates on imported electronics over the next week. And the health risk category for the Air Quality Health Index reaches the very high level. Hello and welcome to TVB News. I'm Melissa Hekalea. President Xi Jinping says no one wins in a trade war as he kicks off a diplomatic tour in Vietnam, reiterating China's commitment to global trade against the backdrop of U.S. trade tariffs. Tariffs which are set to hit Vietnam and others in the region hard in the coming months. China's leader called for stronger ties with Vietnam on trade and supply chains as the Trump administration puts Hanoi under pressure to be less reliant on deals with Beijing. David Garrett has more.
Vietnam ready to welcome the leader of their biggest trading partner. The Air China jet touched down in Hanoi, a trip planned for weeks but more pertinent than ever with US President Donald Trump's imposition of trade tariffs. President Xi Jinping down the steps and then along the red carpet, having released a written statement ahead of the trip. Xi wrote he's looking forward to an in-depth exchange with Vietnamese leaders. Their conversation on common concerns can have global impact. She was quoted in an article in the newspaper of Vietnam's Communist Party as saying there are no winners in trade wars and no way out of protectionism. China is dealing with 145% tariffs on exports to the US. Vietnam could be under 46% tariffs by July. Trump is targeting countries which he believes act as a conduit for Chinese exports. Under pressure, Hanoi is tightening controls on some Chinese trade. Vietnam, as a major industrial assembly hub, has business with both economies. The country of 100 million imports goods worth $30 billion from Beijing, but exports more than $31 billion to America. China is offering loans to Vietnam to help them improve their railways in what should be a boost to cross-border trade. As the presidential motorcade made its way through the Vietnamese capital, thousands lined the streets to welcome Xi as he maps out a big week of diplomacy. Ahead of trips to Cambodia and Malaysia later this week, yesterday, Xi vowed to deepen China's partnership with Indonesia. In a telephone call with President Prabowo Subianto, Xi told his counterpart their ties also have global significance, with Prabowo also under mounting pressure from Donald Trump's trade tariffs. Xi Jinping offering support and fostering relations across the region. David Garrett, TVB News.
The World Internet Conference Asia Pacific Summit opened in Hong Kong today. This is the first time the event has been hosted in the city. The two-day summit kicked off at the Convention and Exhibition Center. Chief Executive John Lee and Zheng Yangxiong, the director of the central government's liaison office, were among the dignitaries at the opening ceremony. The summit was attended by 30 countries and regions, with a focus being on the development of artificial intelligence and digital technology.
Hong Kong's rise as an INT hub has been fast-tracked by our vibrant economy, which is powered by free trade and boasts the world's third largest financial center. This summit matters. Cooperation matters, especially during these challenging times to geopolitics and trade relations.
Washington's policy on exempting smartphones and other electronic products from its tariff policy has added yet another layer of confusion on the ever-escalating Sino-U.S. trade spat. Some local economists believe American consumers and businesses will be the first to bear the brunt of U.S. President Trump's economic measures. Timothy Lee reports.
In an era of globalization, manufacturing electronic goods has been an indispensable source of wealth generation for many countries around the world. For top American smartphone maker Apple, only some 30% of the iPhone's hardware is produced in the U.S., with the remaining parts manufactured in nations like South Korea, Japan, and China. China, being the primary assembly hub for iPhones, is home to 96% of all production of the Apple product. As a result of U.S. President Donald Trump's trade war declaration, analysts believe the tit-for-tat tariffs slapped by both the U.S. and China have doubled the cost of iPhone production. Despite Apple having set up a number of factories in India in a bid to diversify production, a 10% tariff has also been applied to the South Asian nation. A number of local economists believe average American consumers and businesses will be the first to suffer from the economic consequences that result from the current U.S. regime's policies. CUHK economics professor Terence Chang stressed the tariffs only hurt Apple's business as their products will only get more expensive in the U.S. market. He added it would be impossible to manufacture iPhones entirely within America alone, given that tens of thousands of parts are made in China. Meanwhile, in the hope of avoiding the fallout of the China-U.S. trade war and further pushing ahead with the city's economic development, the Hong Kong Chinese Importers and Exporters Association suggested the SAR should speed up efforts to boost e-commerce trade with other cities in the Greater Bay Area. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Hong Kong's air quality health risks have reached very high levels, according to the Air Quality Health Index, due to the effect of dust storms and strong winds in the mainland. The observatory expects visibility to remain low across Guangdong province for the next 2 days. Visibility in the city was reduced to around 6 to 9 kilometers throughout the morning, with the headquarters of the observatory reporting a limited visibility of just 5,000 meters at around 11 a.m. Relative humidity also dropped to just 40% or below at noon. This, as weather authorities noted, the weather conditions were brought about by the northeast monsoon carrying dust particles southward from a dust storm in Inner Mongolia. Macau Chief Executive Sam Ho-fai today delivered his first policy address, retaining a list of policies benefiting residents' livelihood. They include the continuation of the 10,000 pataka cash handouts to residents of the enclave for the 18th consecutive year. Under this measure, non-permanent residents can also receive a 6,000 pataka handout. He also announced a new child allowance that will allocate 1,500 patakas monthly to families with children below the age of 3. The enclave CE stressed his administration will continue to diversify the city's economy, such as boosting investment in key industries in the Macau and Hengqin areas. The Immigration Department estimates about 6.04 million people will pass through the city's control points over the Easter holiday. The 4-day public holiday starts this Friday. The Immigration Department estimates the number of inbound and outbound passengers using land boundary control points will peak on Friday and the coming Monday. Roughly 759,000 and 618,000 people, respectively. To ensure smooth passenger traffic flow, the department says authorities will implement traffic diversion plans when necessary. Still ahead, in South Korea, ousted leader Yoon Suk-yeol makes his first appearance in court to face insurrection charges. And the Drainage Services Department uses new robots to increase maintenance work efficiency. South Korea's ousted leader Yoon Suk-yeol argued that his brief martial law declaration in December last year was not a coup attempt. This as Yoon made his first appearance in court to face insurrection charges. The black fleet of cars carrying the former president arrived at the Seoul Central District Court. Yoon's impeachment was upheld by the Constitutional Court. These criminal charges, which he denies, also relate to his martial law decree in December. He could face the death penalty if found guilty, although South Korea has not executed anyone in decades. On day one, Yoon maintained that emergency powers were needed to root out anti-state elements. Prosecutors argue Yoon lacked legal grounds and accused him of trying to paralyze the country. At the Vatican, a convalescing Pope Francis greeted the crowd in St. Peter's Square on Palm Sunday. in yet another reassuring public sign of his recovery from a life-threatening battle with double pneumonia. The 88-year-old pontiff greeted well-wishers while he made his way onto the stage during a Palm Sunday Mass. Many in the crowd reached out to touch Francis's hand or garments as he arrived in a wheelchair. Francis was not wearing nasal tubes for supplemental oxygen, as he had during a similar appearance last Sunday. And back locally, the Drainage Services Department today introduced new robots to increase maintenance, work efficiency, and safety. The department aims to incorporate innovative technology into its work to handle adverse weather conditions and regular inspections. Musin reports.
This machine is called the Mobile Powerful Pumping Robot. Recently introduced by the Drainage Services Department, this wireless water discharge robot is capable of draining 800 cubic meters of water per hour. It can be in operation for 8 consecutive hours. These 3 wireless robots are for desilting purposes and can handle different drainage channel environments. The Drainage Services Department said the robots can support its work in handling incidents caused by adverse weather conditions, including flooding. To prevent floodwater from overflowing in the city, the department is working on a barrier and nullah improvement scheme in Yunnan, a district that faces an increasing risk of flooding because of land development and climate change. The scheme includes building automatic flood barriers and stormwater pumping stations. The project started in May 2023, and authorities expect it to be finished by 2030. In a press conference, the Drainage Services Department said it would do its best to ensure the city will not be affected by the adverse weather this year.
At the present stage, we haven't set any KPI, as we know, because of the uncertainty of the adverse weather. It depends on the individual cases that how much time is required to handle and remove the flooding incident in each case. So it is not easy. I would say it's very difficult to set a universally applicable KPI, for example, deployment or times to remove the flooding incident. But we will do our best.
Musin, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Pearl Magazine is up shortly. See you then.